Okay, in this third video, we're going to work through this example calculation here. We got a few calculations actually. We need to look at the housing expense ratio, the debt to income ratio for these particular people, these particular numbers, and then see what kind of loan they could qualify for. Actually on a 15, 20, and 30-year basis. So we're going to get different answers for each of these. So let's start the problem and see where we need to go here. The Smiths have a total family income of $107,500. They want to buy a house. They got student loans requiring monthly payments of $670. They got car payments totaling $770. If property taxes are $150 per month and insurance is going to be $125 a month, how big of a loan can they qualify for if rates are 3.625? So 3 5/8%. Well, first we need to figure out the GMI, the gross monthly income, and that's a relatively straightforward number. We're just going to take their annual salary, annual gross income, 107,500, divide that by 12, and we're going to get gross monthly income of $89.58. From there, we need to figure out what their housing expense can be, the PITI. That can be 31% of this number, so we can figure out what that number is, multiply this result by 31%, and we get their PITI total can be $27.77 So the PITI is principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Now we have firm numbers for taxes and insurance. That's the 150 and the 125. So we need to subtract that out to see what the mortgage payment amount would be, the principal and interest. So let's do that next. We're going to take away 150 and then 125 to get a monthly number. And our monthly amount that can go towards principal and interest is $2502.08. So that is a simple problem from a previous chapter where we just stick that in as the payment amount and figure out what amount they can get. So let's go ahead and stick this in as the payment. Actually, I should change the sign, make it a negative. And then we're going to try first for, let's try for the 15-year loan. So 15 times 12 is 180 periods. The interest rate is 3.625. We need to divide that by 12 to get a monthly rate. That would be going in there. And zero future value, so we've got to pay the loan off, and we compute the present value. And so for a 15-year loan, the max they can borrow is 347, let's call it 012. We can do the same calculation for a 20-year loan. Hopefully it's intuitive that they're going to be able to get a bigger loan because they can stretch it out further. So all we're going to do here is change the number of periods. 20 times 12 is 240 periods. And we compute the new present value, and that would give us a new loan amount of $426,683. Finally, we can look at a 30-year loan. That's going to be 360 periods, and we can just stick that in and again compute the new present value. That's going to be the maximum loan amount. In this case, it's $548,641. And we have figured out all of the numbers for the housing expense ratio. So this is kind of the lowest hurdle. Actually, we don't know which one is lower. We're going to pick the loan amount, though, that meets both of these things, right? So we have two criteria that we got to meet, and we're going to see which one of them is the constraining one. So far, just looking at A, the housing expense ratio, PITI over GMI, that gives us these are the maximum loan amounts depending on the loan term. And this, by the way, is going to always be true. The longer the loan term is, the more money you can borrow. So if they're willing to get a 30-year mortgage, they can borrow all the way up to $548. If they really want to have this thing taken care of in 15 years, they can borrow $347,012. Now, all of this assumes that we don't have to deal with this debt to income ratio, part B. And in fact, we do. So I'm going to clean off this a little bit, keep our numbers over there, and we'll talk through how to come up with the debt to income ratio. So if I take their gross monthly income, multiply that times the 43%, I get this number of $3852.08. That's the maximum amount that they can pay towards all of their kind of long-term obligations, all of their debt payments. So that's going to include their house payment, the PITI, and any long-term obligations. So their student loans in this case, their car payments. So now we're going to back those out and see how much they can pay towards their house. So if I subtract out the $670 for student loans, and take out the $770 for their car payments, I get $2412.08, but that also includes taxes and insurance. So now I need to take out the $150 and the $125 and we have a new amount of money, $2137.08, that can go towards their principal and interest, go towards the bank loan. So if $2137.08 is the maximum payment, I mean, do my negative sign here, change that to the payment. And again, we'll start with the 15 years. So that's going to be 180 periods. And we didn't change anything about the interest rate. So I can really just recompute the loan amount. And in this case, it's going to drop down to $296,390. To figure out the 20-year loan, we're going to have 240 periods. That's the only thing that's going to change. We compute the loan amount, the maximum present value, and we get $364,439. And then lastly, we stick in the 360 period loan. So 360 periods, and compute the present value. We get $468,606, $468,606. And so these are the two constraints, the two numbers that come from meeting the housing expense ratio and the debt to income ratio. You pick the lower of these, and so the binding constraint is going to be that part B, because these people, the Smiths, have such large student loan and car payments required. So that's really eating into their ability to get the mortgage. Their numbers are going to be these over here on this side. That's the maximum loan amount they can get for the different terms based on their circumstances. So that is an example of walking through some numbers, putting together the housing expense ratio, the debt to income ratio, finding out what a borrower can afford. And so that wraps up this video, that wraps up this chapter, and so I'll see you next time.